Hello and welcome along to Clare FM's Sideline View. It's Derek Lynch with you for the next hour. Coming up on the show, we look ahead to the beginning of the National League campaigns for three of Clare's flagship sides, with the footballers, hurlers and ladies footballers all in action. We'll hear from all three camps over the course of the show. We'll also hear from Clare GAA's new head of operations, who spoke to us here on Clare FM this week, and Alan Troy looks ahead to the countdown beginning to the national coursing meeting in Clonmel next week. Football, though, is our first port of call here on Sideline View this evening, where Paul Madden takes charge of Clare in the National League for the first time this Saturday evening with a trip to Newry to take on Down. The team was named this morning, and it's Stephen Ryan in goal, Alan Sweeney, Ronan Lanigan and Manus Doherty the full back line. Ikem Aguero is at centre back with Killian Brennan and Fionn Kelleher on the wings. Midfield pairing is Dara Bohannon and Brian McNamara. Brendy Ruine, Dermot Coughlin and Aaron Griffin make up the half-forward line, and Clare's inside line will be Owen Cleary, Mark McInerney and Cormac Murray. We can hear now from the manager about how preparations have been going.
First of all, I suppose the first round of the league has come upon us quite quickly, really, to be honest. You know, our first official training day was the 22nd of November, so we're 8 weeks later we find ourselves on the road to Newry in round one of the league, but it's a game that we're really looking forward to.
And you cast the net far and wide, Paul, when you came in. There was, I think, 50 odd there at one stage. But to get that kind of response from players, I'd imagine you got very few, if any, kind of no thank yous, which I suppose in itself was a huge vote of confidence in the new system, the new setup, the new management team that were taking over.
Yeah, well, I suppose one of the things that I've discovered from dealing with the lads who've been there previously is that, they're very passionate about Clare football, Derek, and they want to play for their county. But I could safely say that since coming in and putting together that large group, and that large group was really based on lads who performed well for their clubs this year, and I think that's really important, that lads have something to aim for. If they play well for their clubs, they have the opportunity to get into the environment that allows them to have a chance or a crack at inter-county football. But between the initial guys that were there last year and previous years and the guys that have come in, I mean, that the one common denominator, I think you referenced it, is that they want to be there. There's nobody there under duress. They all want to be there and they all want to play for Clare. So that's fantastic as a management team when you have a group that are that focused and committed.
And that was fairly evident in the two McGrath Cup games, and I was at both and saw both, but even the warm-ups before the games, and Waterford was fairly cold that evening, and it wasn't much warmer in Clarecastle the following week either. But I was just watching the warm-ups, and the intensity at which they were being done had all the hallmarks of fellas that were eager to just make the most of this opportunity they had.
I suppose really as a management team, we'd be disappointed if lads were happy to miss out on the 26th, but that's the nature of it. But it's very much been a case of, patting the 26 on the back when we go to a match with the other 14 or 24, 26 as it was before we cut the squad, which is a great sign, really. There's a great bond in the group at the moment. Now, obviously, you have to go out and compete and try and win football matches, but I suppose you start off with the basics, and the basics are that you create an environment that players want to be part of. And I think so far, all the evidence would suggest that is the case.
That element of cutting a squad, I'd say it's something that was alien enough to you as a club manager, because you'd be trying to coax more lads in rather than kind of cutting down a panel. And I've heard other inter-county managers kind of saying that was one of the tougher parts of the role, was telling a fella that he hadn't made a National League panel or even a 26th. How did you find it?
I suppose the only experience I've had with it was around club football and COVID times, where you could only bring a certain amount of lads to a game. But as you said rightly, within a club environment, there's a place for everybody. At this level, it is a bit more cutthroat, and I suppose what you're dealing with is you're dealing with almost the best of the best. You're dealing with guys, that are the best players in their clubs. They're the first guys on the team sheet with their club. They're used to being the centre of everything in their clubs. But yet at inter-county stage, they're up against the equivalents of other clubs, so someone has to miss out. It's difficult, Derek. It really is difficult because, as I said, in our case, if the 12 or 13 lads that we had to let go recently had no interest in Clare football, showed no interest, had terrible attitude, it would have been an easy job. But you're telling guys, who really gave everything they had and did everything that was asked of them for that 8-week period, and they're missing out. But it's not the end of the journey for some of them. Some of them will be back again. Some of them obviously didn't get a good run at it because of injury, and some of them have missed out because there are just quite literally better lads in their positions. So The experience was difficult, but I think if you adapt an approach of honesty and you speak to the players and you give them the reasons where they can work on that for future, then I think, and in the case in point for myself, I didn't have any resistance. Disappointment, yes, but not resistance, which was good.
And in this month of January, we've seen those 2 run-outs, good win in Waterford and good performance and defeat against Kerry. And I know there's been a couple of challenge games in between. So are you happy with where the current point in the graph is?
Well, I can't benchmark it against much, Derek, because obviously it's our first year in and we're only in a couple of months. But what I would say is, we've played a number of games, albeit pre-season games and friendly matches. And, I can safely say that regardless of the opposition, we weren't out of place against the opposition in those games, that we were very, very competitive right to the end of every one of those games. So from that perspective, I suppose really what we're trying to do is instill a bit of belief in the players, a bit of belief in the jersey that, that we can compete with anyone on any given day. And I actually believe that. But the reality is we're a Division 3 team and we're there for a reason. And until we're not in Division 3, that's our level. Starting
off with that trip to Newry, as we said, it's a place we know well. We've made that journey a good number of times now the last couple of years, and mixed results, I guess. But this is a down team, you have to imagine, that are probably been spoken up about it as one of the stronger candidates for promotion. So good test straight away.
Yeah, no, most definitely Down are the favourites to get out of the group. But as I pointed out to the lads during the week, Down are a Division 3 team as well. So we're playing against a team at our own level, at least on paper anyway. So we certainly have referenced Down as a team that probably in the last 2 years have bullied us a bit physically and football-wise. It's not that long ago that we were going up to Newry and winning games, but the last couple of years Down have progressed and they've got the better of us.
Clare manager Paul Madden there. Well, everybody involved will be hoping that my next guest can repeat his goal-scoring form of last year. It is, of course, St. Bricken's clubman Alan Sweeney.
Allianz League is round again, and we're all looking forward to it. It leaves us in Newry Saturday evening, so no, I suppose a couple of us now have looking up for cross paths with them the last couple of years, so we're well used to travelling to Newry anyway, for sure.
Yeah, does that help? Does it help kind of dampen, the unknowns coming into a week like this?
Maybe it does. I suppose that bit of experience at the venue, and maybe there's a naturally feels up in the north play a little bit tighter. So I suppose it's just carrying for all them factors and getting used to it for lads that haven't been up there. But for the lads that have been up, we know what it's all about up there, and we're just really looking forward to Saturday evening now and getting started.
And no bigger test, I suppose, to start things off either.
Yeah, no. Look at, I suppose, Down are probably seen to everyone in Division 3 that are probably going to bounce straight back up. So I suppose it's up to us and to go up there and see where we are in that conversation. So it all started the first game. We obviously travelled to the end from last year too. So we all know how hard it is to go to Northern Ireland and get 2 Allianz League points. But that's definitely the aim Saturday evening.
Yeah, I was going to reference last year's game because as it boiled down, a lot of people have kind of pinpointed it maybe as a day that ultimately proved very costly. Does that kind of put more emphasis in on day one? I know that there's 6 more to follow, obviously, but they all count.
Yeah, look, I suppose they all count, Eric. But like every day you go out in the Allianz League, you just have to take it day by day, don't you? You have to go and try to get them 2 points, knuckle down and go again. Like it's relentless, really. It's 7 games in 9 weeks. You can't look past the game in front of you, and probably in hindsight, looking back now, like the last 2 years, we've missed out on promotion on score difference. So now, alone does every point matter on the board, every point on the actual scoreboard matters too. So you just have to take it game by game, approach as best you can, and try and do everything you can to get 2 points out of every game as you go forward.
Yeah, and I suppose when you analyse back last year's campaign, was there an element of almost freakishness about it? Like that day above in Antrim, I think I'm just about defrosted from it anyway, and I was only standing up at the back of the stand, but then you had the new rules, then you had the performance in Sligo, and that brilliant night above in Laois, and the close call here then when it was score difference. Like it was a real roller coaster.
Yeah, look, I suppose any year you miss out on promotion and you beat 2 teams that go up, you're probably going to feel a little bit hard done by. But it is what it is. We didn't get results in other days that we should have got results. And every day we got results. We got a little bit lucky with scores here and there. So it swings and roundabouts. But you just got to take control as much as you can and go with it.
How have you found the new gaffer?
Good. Paul is excellent. Yeah, no, his management team. Yeah, look at you. Paul knows Clare football inside out. So no, loads of lads brought in, loads of lads given their chance. Really good environment to be involved with. Got a good bank of work done there before Christmas. Everyone got their break, and since we've come back, it's been all eyes have been on the National League really, and Saturday evening. So no, really positive. Really looking forward to it. And yeah, as I said, Paul knows Clare football inside out. So we've definitely a good man over us and a good crew involved.
Yeah, and like people often talk about the manager knowing the players, but I always think about the dynamic of the players knowing the manager. Like, you'd have come across him with his heroic jacket on him on the sideline enough of times, as with other lads. So did that help in kind of knowing that you kind of were aware of the values or what he would be kind of looking for?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I suppose 100, like, he knows, not does he knows all his footballers, but he would know the majority of that group as people too, which is very important. So like everyone has a a job in life outside of football, so he can manage that very well. And then when it comes to actually giving advice and on the field, he's excellent at that too. So I think it's such an important that we have a Clare man involved over us, and it's great to have everyone kind of pushing the one way and all in the same wavelength. So yeah.
And on that vibe of knowing lads, I mean, I think there was 50 odd lads were called in at one stage to stake their claim for the jersey. So I think anyone that was deserving of a chance definitely got it. But that must have created seriously competitive sessions and A versus Bs and all the rest of it, because suddenly there was a fair crew there all looking for the one thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I suppose lads were getting in that hadn't been in before, and they were getting a taste of what it was like to be in the county set up in an environment. And it's second to none. Like, lads come in there and they've trained really, really hard for the last couple of weeks. Be it gym, be it on the field, and everyone kind of with the one aim was to make the squad first of all, then it's to make the match day squad, and then obviously everyone's pushing trying to make the first 15. So anywhere along the panel there's been massive competition, and I suppose it's competition that breeds results, because if anyone stands up at all or is not pulling their weight, they'll slowly move down along the line. So no, all that's been very, very positive.
And I know the McGrath Cup didn't end up with a final appearance. There'll be nobody crying or losing sleep over that, but definitely from a performance perspective, you seem to have gelled by the time that Kerry game was finishing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I suppose since kind of Christmas, we've really zoned in on how we want to play and how we want to approach different games. And I mean, the weeks fly. It's you come off after Christmas there, you kind of only have 5, 6, 7 sessions to kind of nail down what you want to do. So look, we were disappointed that we didn't get over the line that evening against Kerry, because every day we go, we want to win. But I mean, when we look back and watch the game, there was different clippets and parts of it that we can definitely take positives out of it going forward, and hopefully we can work on the things that didn't go so well. And if we can sort them out for Saturday evening, we should be in the shake-up, hopefully, into the last 10 minutes of that game, with hopefully getting a win and getting 2 points on the board early.
Yeah, and it's interesting you talk there about getting ready for game plans and stuff like that, because I'd imagine this time last year you were probably in the depths of understanding the new rules, whereas this year now that's all done. You can actually park it and focus on the more intricate parts of the game, for want of a better word.
Yeah, I suppose, look, over the last 12 months between county and club, everyone is probably trying to be getting their head around these new rules and what different coaches were doing, different teams were doing. But I think that the one thing we can all agree on is the new game is fantastic. Like, and there probably is more demands on the body, of course there is, but I think the biggest thing it's more enjoyable for everyone. So we're definitely enjoying it. I'm sure people in the stands are enjoying it more. So it is great, and as we move forward, everyone's still trying to get a grasp of it and get to know it, but everyone's in the same boat there too. We've only seen it 12 months, but it is definitely more positive.
Have you noticed boot being put to ball a little bit more?
Well, you have no choice, Derry, because because your tongue is out after 15 minutes anyway. So if you don't start putting the boot to ball after 10 or 15 minutes, you'll have no choice but to do it towards the end of the game. So I suppose that's naturally come into it, which is great to see too. Probably some coaches are probably putting their hair out, because I would go as far as saying a lot of the control has come out of it. You just can't control it as much as you used to be able to. That was probably killing it as a spectacle. Whereas now with the few different tweaks and rules, it's probably a lot of it's up to players on the field, and that's what our management team has been taught. There's only so much that they can drill into us on a tactics board. It's about reacting to what's in front of you and just going with it on the field, and hopefully getting in at half time in whatever game you're playing and have a quick chat and reassess what you're at and make a few little tweaks. But a lot of it is up to players themselves on the field now.
Yeah, I noticed that actually I was there on the sideline in Clarecastle for the Kerry game, and I can't remember now which one of the forwards, but he was being encouraged, shall we say, by one of your backroom team to make a particular run. Now, I don't think he was ever going to get the ball, but it was about just pulling his man away and making the bit of space. And on the subsequent attack, he was in the same kind of a position, and he just looked over his shoulder, saw the management team member there, and took off on the run without having to be told about it. So, like, there's a lot of learnings in that, just getting used to those little things.
Yeah, there is loads of learning. And look, for the lads that have come in and it's their first or second year in the county jersey, it's played at such a higher pace in the club. It'll take time to adapt, and then they will over time. No one comes in, bar the top lads all over Ireland. They come in and just gel into the inter-county setup straight away. For the majority of lads that come into the inter-county setup, it takes a year or two to get up to the pace, and there's definitely a good few lads there that have no bother getting into it now.
The views there of Alan Sweeney ahead of Saturday evening's game. Live commentary to come from Parkester, with thanks to Ennis Home Furniture and Jones's Super Value in Milltown. Up next, we look ahead to Clare's first outing of the National Hurling League. Now, delighted to have a man that knows all about the National Hurling League, indeed a winner's medal in his back pocket, in the former Colin Ryan, to look ahead to this year's campaign. Firstly, Colin, was this a time of year that you used to look forward to, cold January and February days?
Oh God, I don't know that I ever look forward to them. Do you know what? It's kind of a nice break from pre-season, maybe to play a few matches and stuff like that, and get out in front of a crowd. And but it's chalk and cheese to championship level. In the current climate, anyway, it definitely was back then. Even the climate itself was much better in June when we started championship. But it's definitely. There's a lot of players that are probably really, really excited about it. There's a lot of players that are, ticking the box and kind of using it as preparation maybe for getting in the right headspace for Munster Championship. So I think every individual player has a small bit different to prove, and I'm sure Brian has kind of stressed that right throughout it. But I suppose Clare's biggest thing now is probably to get back up to Division 1A, and they'll probably set that as their target from early in the year.
Yeah, I guess even from a nuts and bolts commercial perspective, there's been a lot of talk about gate receipts, and that the teams that we're in with probably won't draw the same level of attention to the home crowds and all the rest of it, albeit having Dublin and Wexford at home probably helps. But like, that will be, I would imagine, a county board motivation, but also for the lads as well to get back up to that top tier.
Yeah, and even the travelling distances and stuff like that, it all plays into it. Most of the Division 1A teams are close to Clare, like there's a lot of them in Munster. So even travelling purposes, you don't have those big long journeys and early in the season, but it's like anything. You want to be playing at the top level all the time. I think it's not the worst thing in the world for Clare to be where they are this year, but you definitely don't want to get stuck in a rut down there either, and spend a number of years down there and struggling to get back up again, because after a number of years you will see kind of probably a fall off in maybe the types of matches you're playing coming up to Munster Championship.
And I suppose he experienced that within the group of getting back up from the old 1B as it was at the time, and getting back up to 1A and winning that league in 16. From momentum and all that, I suppose that was kind of priceless.
Yeah, and like that rut I was talking about there, we got stuck in it. We thought it'd be very easy maybe to come up out of it, and you were going to places like Carlow and they were putting it up to you. You were going up to Antrim, and they're tough matches. They're all proud, and Clare are the team that everybody is going to want to take down in Division 1B. Like, so, the lads need to be fully prepared for that. Like, that everybody's going to step up the gears a small bit to take on Clare because of their calibre, because they're being All-Ireland champions only 2 years ago. So, it's not just going to be as easy as getting back up there, without having to put in the work. And, I'm sure Brian is well aware of that. And, the young players coming in will have to be well aware of that as well. So, there's a lot of different balls in play here, I think, in terms of commercial and preparation for Munster Championship. And while 1 year is fine, you definitely don't want to get stuck down there for a number of years.
We'll talk more about Dublin in that first home game for a minute, but when you look at the 3 away games, Antrim comes the week after. We don't need to analyse that one too much. Then you go to Carlow, caught Kilkenny a couple of years ago, and then you're going to Newbridge, to a Kildare side that fairly put it up to Kilkenny at the weekend. I think they had to spring on Cody to turn the game for a finish in that one. So there's a couple of sticky wickets in this one.
Yeah, and like I was saying there, these teams are going to be targeting Clare, and especially early in the campaign. The couple of early games, Clare are going to need to be up for it, and from the very start, because suddenly if you don't get a result against Dublin and then go up to Antrim and, get stuck or don't, suddenly you're vying for, are you going to be the team that comes up out of 1A? So, like, realistically, you want to get the business done early. You want to get good performances in early, pick up points. And what will generally happen then is, if you're going really well, then teams will fear you towards the end of the campaign, and they won't be looking forward to Clare coming. Kildare won't be looking forward to Clare coming up to them. Then if Clare are in good spirits. Whereas if they smell a bit of weakness or something like that, they'll be only glad to take them down and maybe stop them coming up.
We have 2 official results to analyse. I know there's been a couple of challenge games as well, but we don't have many details from those, which will please the camp. It's been a tight camp in fairness the last couple of years, but those 2 Munster League games, what did you make of them?
Yeah, like they got a lot out of them. I think when you saw it, there was a good spread throughout the 2 games of getting lads back into play. You can obviously see they're probably looking at Diarmuid Ryan at number 6. Diarmuid's going to need a number of games there if he is to be heir to the throne to John Conlon. Obviously depending on John's situation. So there are a lot of positives. Obviously Jack Irwin was a fantastic positive in the Limerick game, but then unlucky to get injured. So there was a number of players around there, but you're still waiting on the likes of David Reedy and Shane O'Donnell, but I'm sure they won't be back this early in the campaign. So there'll be a lot of players fighting for spots, fighting for panel spots, fighting for starting spots, and there needs to be. I think a couple of players will need to step up the gears and aid and even make it difficult for the likes of Shane and Dave Reedy, the old guard, and maybe invigorate them a small bit that they're going to have to fight for their spot too.
There does seem to be a lovely mixture of the lads that were thrown in the deep end last year because of injuries and the lads that were injured now coming back, and they almost squaring off with each other and one driving on the other.
Yeah, and you need that. You need that competitive nature in a panel. Especially if you are going to compete at the top level. Like you could probably see it even with Tipperary last year. The young lads that came in, they were making life difficult maybe for John McGrath early in the season, and John stepped up the gears and showed he's worked. So like it does have that nature to it where a young player might come in. He's thrown the gauntlet down to maybe the older lad, and then the older lad, gets a bit more motivated and fights for his spot, and suddenly you've 2 good options then coming off the bench. I'm thinking back to maybe an Oisin O'Donoghue and a John McGrath there, like where John was doing the business early in the games, and then Oisin O'Donoghue was being sprung from the bench and he was actually impacting it. So I think Clare are going to need a big impact from their bench throughout this year, as well. And the year behind them where there was lads injured and getting action into their legs last year will stand to them. So, but they have to go out and prove that again this year.
Yeah, so it's one of those positions where there seems to be a lot of competition at the moment is the number 1 jersey. Like we saw young Sheedy from the Bridge in goals for Limerick. Aver makes a start after knee surgery in August, is just an incredible testament to his dedication. Cian Broderick is still around there. Eamon Foodie's there too. Like I thought Killian Nugent had a fantastic campaign for O'Callaghan's Mills. Whether he'd get a call later on or not, I'm not quite sure, but we're certainly not short of options there.
No, and I think there is a fair amount of counties around the place that seem to be tinkering with their goalies, and kind of getting the right mix or getting the right person in maybe that might complement their puck-out strategy or what type of players they have in their half-forward line. So, the only thing I would say is that Clare would like to settle on that, I'm sure, early, rather than going into a Munster campaign not really knowing who your number 1 is. So I can see, Brian giving a couple of games maybe early, but in his head he'll probably have an idea of who he wants as well. So, we'll probably see a couple of changes early in the campaign, but I'd say, they'll start to look and see what goalkeeper they're going to want in the Munster Championship, probably 3 games in, and they need to get that continuity where lads know exactly what their puckouts are going to be like and how they're going to maybe communicate with the full back line and stuff like that. So that's, I suppose, another issue that they're probably looking at.
And that first big test incoming against Dublin, it's a big test to start. Obviously the team that knocked out Limerick in last year's championship, they went quite well in their own pre-season competition too. So Neil O'Callaghan will come down the road in high spirits, I would suggest. Yeah,
I'd imagine so, and I'd imagine they're lining up this game probably from a long way off. to start their campaign, travelling down to Ennis. And in fairness, they've been notoriously good travellers to Ennis since, Anthony Daly's days. They kind of seem like they have a bit of a connection down here. I don't know whether it's the Dubs and Lahinch or whatever it is, but there seems to be a lot of, connections to Clare in Dublin. So, they do show up a lot. And Clare will need to know that going in on Sunday, that they're going to need to perform. And, I think it's probably a good game to start Clare's campaign, because they are going to have to psychologically get up for it. Dublin being perceived as, close to one of the tier 1 counties. So I think it's a good game for Clare psychologically to get up for straight away and maybe kick off their campaign on a high.
And also having it at home, I'd say there'll be a fair crowd in the park on Sunday, because if the appetite for the pre-season games is anything to go by once it becomes league, you'd imagine it amplifies.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people are saying like that. You get a lot of talk in the national media about, the game not being dead for 6 months of the year, but there's a phenomenal club campaign there. But obviously people around Clare, Erogue were knocked out early in Munster and couldn't follow them throughout the winter, so the only thing they're kind of waiting for is Clare to get going again. So definitely in Clare there's probably an appetite there for going to matches. And in fairness, one of the great initiatives then is the under 11s playing at half time, so you'll get a lot of clubs bringing in young lads, and sure, they're all only mad to see their heroes and to see the action straight away. And you're probably going to see the likes of Tony and that from early doors. So, I think everybody's really looking forward to it.
And also I see there's a fantastic initiative whereby the 4 minor all-stars from last year are being presented with their trophies by Anthony Daly at half time. So that'll create an even more carnival atmosphere as well.
Yeah, and like those young lads, we only want to big them up and show people maybe that young lads aren't so far removed from that. Them young lads are only 17, turning 18 this year, and you've under 11s then playing as well. Like, there's only 5 or 6 years in the making there, and they probably know them. So I know it's an absolute fantastic initiative, and the more we can celebrate our young hurlers, the better. I think show them off, show how good they are, show how good they are at national level, and hopefully young lads can see that and maybe strive to be like them.
The views there of Colin Ryan ahead of the start of the National Hurling League for Clare this weekend. I've also been speaking with the Clare camp and selector Ken Ralph, who told me they're eager to get going.
We got back on the 21st of November. I think it was our first day back. The time has flown, yeah. So here we are now. Look, I'm looking forward to it really, and obviously a tough one to start with. So straight into the deep end.
And not that you wouldn't be, but I suppose to have that game up first, does it mean that you're right up for it from day one, like?
Well, you kind of have to be, because Dublin are, as everyone knows now, Dublin are a really good team. They had a good season last year. A new manager in, who has great pedigree as a manager, really knows his stuff. And if anyone's paying attention or watching Dublin like we are, you'll know that I think they've made huge strides since he's come in, and they proved it again at the weekend against Galway. I saw that game now, and there was nothing in it. Could have won it at the end. Well able to play with the top teams, and I think they could be serious contenders for Leinster even beyond this year coming. They look like the real deal, and they've improved a lot. So, it's going to be a tough one for us. So hopefully we can make a good start.
And I suppose a new kind of pressure and a new kind of experience in Division 1B in trying to get out of something rather than trying to go and win a Division 1 title or a provincial or something like that. So has that been a kind of a mindset shift as well?
I don't know. It's a conscious mindset shift, but we were relegated last year, as everyone knows. Things didn't go our way last year. We had injuries and whatever else, a couple of bad performances. But look, this year will be no different. We're going to start and try and win every game. And we always try to balance, given new guys a kind of a run and trying to get game time into the legs of the more established players. And that can be a balancing act at times. It's great when it goes your way, but you could get reversals as well. But we'll set out to try and win every game. And we have a couple of stiff tests to start with. You know, we were at home to Dublin, and then we're away the following week to Antrim. You know, so two tough ones to start, and then, you know, we'll go from there. But look, we'll take it one day at a time, but we'll be trying to win every game as usual.
And you mentioned there like the injuries last year and needing to maybe blood young lads that hadn't been the plan so early. But talking to Conor there before the Christmas and even Diarmuid at the Munster League launch, like there was a kind of a feeling that it was nearly a two-pronged positive look forward now, insofar as your more established players that were injured are very well rested and fresh, and your younger fellas are now steeled and hardened by the experience they got. So that it's a great footing to start off the back of what was, I suppose, a disappointing scenario to deal with.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Yeah, hopefully they'll be all rearing for road. Yeah, no, look, it can hopefully work out that way. As you said, some of the more experienced guys had a lot of time off through injuries, and you know they're obviously rearing to go. So we just have to be mindful of, you know, we can't rush them back in, you know, playing 60, 70-minute games. You know, we kind of have to ease them back into it and get the body back in the road and build them up as we go, without, you know, injuring them. And of course, yeah, the new players, then you have to, you know, it's a big step up for them, so you have to kind of mind them as well and dip them in, dip them out. So look, it's a balancing act, but you know, we're at it a while now. We just have to put it together now and try and get the best team on the field for the next couple of games and see where it takes us.
And you touched on something there that I'd love to get an insight on from an inter-county sense, that the player that's kind of 95% ready to go and a player that wants to play, and the manager and the physio and the medical team kind of saying, lads, we actually have to be some bit disciplined here. We actually can't bring him back yet. He's mad for road. You're telling him that he can't. Is that often difficult?
Well, it can be. It can be. Look, every player I think wants to play. And, you know, players, whether they're 80%, they still want to play. They'll tell you, oh, no, I'll be fine. So you kind of have to make a judgment on that. You know, you ask any player, they'll tell you they're fine, but you kind of have to look beyond, you know, want to play. You kind of have to talk to the medical people and make an assessment on it. Because, you know, you have to look at the big picture. Like, you know, it's summer hurling and we need to have everyone on the pitch. So, you know, the big picture is, we have to get everyone right when we need them, and if that means leaving a guy off for a match, you know, well, that's what we have to do. So look, I mean, a balancing act, but look, players, you know, even though they want to play, they know you're trying to do the best for them and the team as well, so they'll just take it on the chin and move on.
And in the two results that we have banked already in January, you're looking at a 2-point victory, a 1-point loss, both, I suppose, late penalties, maybe deciding both results in a lot of ways, one way or the other. What have you taken away from it?
They were two good workouts, which was probably the most important thing. Obviously tried to win both of them, 1-1. Probably lost the other, obviously, you know, probably should have won it or could have won it. But just proved that, you know, we've a lot of work to do. We had some guys coming back, you know, big names coming back, and, you know, obviously needed the game time and stuff. So that was probably the most important thing. It would have been nice to get another game, but look, it wasn't to be. But, you know, we take the positives that we got no injuries out of it. So, yeah, it was good. It served the purpose, and we'll move on from there.
Yeah, and just finally, like we spoke to Brian before the Christmas about the Club Clare element and how people can row in and support that, and I know there's been a good take-up and it's still open and people can still do that. And like, you look at the support that was there in Tulla for that first game, a limited capacity of 2,000 people. Then you go to Mallow, and we were getting messages from lads that actually couldn't even get in the road to it. They had to turn around and watch the game on a stream in a bar in Mallow. Like, that appetite, that want now to see the Clare hurlers, to support them, it seems to be massive, and we haven't even passed the first month of the year.
Yeah, there's a great buzz around, isn't there? Even, you know, from schools all the way up to senior inter-county. And it's not just in Clare now. You know, I see it in Tip and, you know, Limerick, Cork. Obviously, they're all in the march again, and everyone, you know, the Munster Championship has really been the jewel in the crown, I think, for the last number of years. And I think the anticipation has grown already. So what will hopefully be, you know, another good Munster Championship, and, you know, hopefully we'll be in that top three. But yeah, no, the Clare supporters has been great to us in the last number of years. You know, they've been following us everywhere, and, you know, been very fair to us as well. So I think it looks like that's going to continue, and, you know, long may it continue.
Clare senior hurling selector Ken Ralph there. We expect the team to be finalised later this evening, and we'll let you know as soon as we have it. 2 o'clock start on Sunday in Zimmerbeim at Park Ysogue, with commentary thanks to Matt Waters, Clare Fruit and Veg, and Healy Spar and off-licence Turnpike Ennis. Back shortly here on Sideline View. And you're welcome back to the show. Well, on Sundays, Clare's Ladies National Football League campaign gets underway at the Antrim GAA Centre of Excellence in Dunswilly as they face the home side. Ahead of that, management have announced that Joanna Doohan of Clonmel Bricken is the new captain of the squad for the coming year. I've been speaking to her to look ahead to the season and started by asking, was her new role something she was expecting?
Yeah, no, I was a bit shocked when I found out there, but I'm delighted to have the honour, definitely.
I often speak to people, you know, in the terms of them being a captain, and you often get the line back that it's just the armband essentially. This is a group with lots of leaders, lots of people that have loads and loads of experience. Is that true of this particular group as well?
I think so, definitely. I'd more so see my role as maybe a bridge between the younger and the more experienced girls. I'd definitely be taking a lot of advice from the older girls and stuff like that. So I would say you are correct on that.
That's an interesting point in terms of your own maybe arc of development within the squad, because you've been around it a couple of years now, and I suppose find yourself in that nearly middle management position.
Yeah, I suppose it's my 6th year this year, so I would be kind of class myself as in the middle of the two things. So when I came in, when I first started, I was only minor myself, so I was looking up to the likes of your Cueva Harveys, your Chloe Maloney, Laurie Ryan and stuff like that. And they just, whether it was a tap on the back or advice on how you're playing and stuff like that, I think it did bring me on so much. So I'd be hoping that myself and other leaders on the panel would have that for the younger girls this year and years ahead.
I suppose you often forget, and we saw it obviously this, you know, in this past week with St. Joseph's Spanish Point, even though a player might be only 19, 20, 21, I suppose the way it's gone now is, by that age, you've an awful lot of it played.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose in ladies football as well, you could be thrown into a few different age groups at that age, where you kind of have to stand up and be a leader when you think you might be very young yourself. But I think, to be honest, it brings you on a lot more and prepares you for the adult team as well. So I think that is a nice way to look at it. 2026,
I suppose, a year where Clare will be looking to take more steps forward. You know, maybe last year didn't quite go to plan, but there's no doubt at the Division 2-3 grade, and certainly as we've seen in Intermediate Championship, you can go target silverware. What are the goals for 26, do you think?
Well, look, like, it was disappointing in the league last year with relegation, so definitely our first motive is to get back up to Division 2. So to get to the league final and hopefully win it. That would be our main goal at the moment, but obviously we have to take each game as it comes, so our main focus is Antrim at the weekend. And look, we got to the quarter-final last year and stuff like that. It was a build-in year, I would say, as well, so we have a lot of new girls in now that hopefully will get to push on another step.
And it must be an exciting squad to be involved in when you see those younger ones coming in with All-Ireland medals in their back pockets. Some of them will be hopefully in the next week or two collecting Munster Senior A medals. Like, that's a serious high quality.
Yeah, exactly. Sure, if you look at the likes that are in with us at the moment, Abby Kelly, Kayla Darcy, Aveen Ryan, they have so much silverware with them already at such a young age, and hopefully more silverware with Spanish Point now. In the Saturday to come in Mallow. But it's great to have them in to get them to experience what it's like to be on the adult team and stuff, and hopefully it'll help them for their minor and schools run as well.
Absolutely. Not only are you facing an arduous enough journey to Antrim for day one, but I suppose you're also doing it with these new rules hanging around in the background. How have you found them?
I found them good so far. We've had a few challenge games, so we've got to do a bit of practicing and stuff like that, and training and things. And I suppose a few of the college girls as well, it's in the college, so we're getting to experience it a bit more as well, and especially playing with another team as well. It helps you get into it a bit more. So,
what have you found the most difficult to adapt to?
I would say definitely the solo and go when you get it yourself, it's great. But it's kind of the backing off for making sure that you don't touch the player when it goes the other way, if that makes sense. Making sure you don't give away a free in front of the goals, you know.
Yeah, that's a mindset change, isn't it? And it's I suppose it's, in a very basic level, it's remembering it.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, like you said, just remembering it in your head that, oh, you have to give her the space, back off and then take your tackle and stuff like that. But it's great to keep the game flowing now. I do think the solo and go is suiting the Clare ladies very well because we have a lot of athletes that would be well able to keep going. What
about all that space that the forwards have on the 3-up?
Well, I'd be back there myself sometimes and it's a bit daunting, but it's great from a forward's perspective anyway. And I do think when you have the likes of Chloe Maloney inside, the kick is on for us now, and hopefully that'll bring us joy. But on the other side of it, when you're defending, there's a lot of space there, but we just have to get used to it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there's a real sense that this is going to improve ladies football even more, because a lot of people would have said watching the ladies game in the last couple of years was far more attractive than watching the men's, because it was just go and try and score rather than try not to concede, and one is a far more attractive prospect than the other. So throw this into the mix as well and it could boost things to the next level altogether.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose like you said, if you just keep things simple and just go for it, I suppose we do take a few more risks in the ladies where we just say we'll chance it and we'll go for the score. But yeah, no, I do think it'll open it up a lot.
New Clare ladies football captain Joanna Doohan there. I've also been speaking to Clare manager Graham Shine about how he has found the new rules ahead of their first official outing.
Yeah, look, we've been at them now since we came back, and we've 3 or 4 challenge matches played, all done in the new rules, and the girls are enjoying it. The forwards especially are enjoying the freedom. The backs mightn't be, but forwards are really enjoying it, and it's a way faster game. They're even noticing now the game is way faster, and it's going at the solo and go and stuff gives an advantage to teams. And I suppose it's just whoever adapts to them quicker will probably get the points on the board a bit quicker in the league than teams that won't adapt to it. So our girls are getting, as I say, we've a few matches played and we seem to adapt into it well. So we won't know until we hit the pitch and go up against that.
And maybe you won't know the answer to this next question until you play a full competitive game under them, but was there a need of them? Like, did you, looking at ladies football, did you feel there was a need to try it? It seems to have come out of the blue a small bit with a few people.
Yeah, look, we were always, ladies football was always, I do both, I train men and women, so look, the ladies game was always a fast game anyway and dynamic, but I know the forwards are really they're really loving the freedom up there, the 3v up. It was kind of defensive, all right, there was teams playing 2 sweepers and stuff, so that's given it good, and even the 11v11 is making it more competitive, and we also see a lot of girls now taking on players 1v1s, that's coming to the lot. And the solo and go has really changed. A lot of times last year and the year before, you'd be getting free kicks, and by the time the free kick was taken, it was a disadvantage. So they're loving that rule. They're loving the space. As I said, the backs probably aren't. But yeah, look, we'll see. The first round is this weekend in Division 4, so we'll have a look at that and we'll just see how it plays out and what way it flows. So look, as it's hard to answer it, we'll have to see.
Yeah, and I guess that 2-point dynamic comes into it as well. I mean, there'd probably be rare enough scores, but what you can probably see is, I would imagine, a lot of balls dropping short. There'll be a lot of chaos around the square. It could lend to a lot of drama.
Yeah, we've seen it already, weather conditions and stuff. You know, a few players might get on the edge of it, but a lot of them are dropping it as balls spilling. Whoever's quickest to react, all right, getting scores. But hopefully a few of our girls now, there's a couple of 2-pointers in them, and we'll set the standard above and through.
Absolutely. And just finally, Graham, you're going to have a new face leading out the team from the dressing room on match days as well. You have a captain appointed?
Yeah, look, we last November, December, management we went to say we would lead out the team this year, and Roisin Considine is vice captain, and Joanna Doohan is the captain for 2026, so we're over the moon. They're 2 great girls and 2 great players, 2 great leaders, and the team is absolutely delighted that those girls will be leading them out for 2026.
Clare Ladies football manager Graham Shine there, and we will be keeping an eye on that game on Sunday across the afternoon. Well, new head of operations with Clare GAA, Anne-Marie Warren, joined Alan Morrissey on Morning Focus earlier this week for her first interview since taking up the role. She began by outlining how the first few weeks have gone.
I've been very lucky that I've been on the Clare County Board CCC for the last 2 years, so I had an opportunity to meet an awful lot of the executives and delegates and people in Clare Abbey and all of that, and in a different role before I got offered this role. So it wasn't as daunting, I suppose, as you normally start a new job where you're going in somewhere and you don't know anybody and anything like that. So the minute I was announced, Deirdre, reached out and offered to sit down with me and kind of go through some of the aspects of the role that she thought would be helpful for me to know in advance, so that I suppose I wasn't coming in on the 5th of January completely cold and not knowing where to start. So yeah, that has been a great bonus to me, to be able to sit down with somebody. Yeah, I suppose I didn't get to put my feet up exactly over Christmas. It was, thinking about any new job.
Hope you got to relax a little bit.
Oh, I did. Don't worry, I did. But it was like anything, you're waiting for January to come around and you're, nervous about starting a new job and what it's going to bring. But, it was great. And, the well wishes I got from the minute it was announced were amazing, from all parts of County Clare, from people I didn't know and I did know. So look, it was lovely to receive all those well wishes, and I hope I can meet all those expectations that people have now in this role.
And I guess all of those well wishes makes taking up this mantle a lot easier, Anne-Marie, because there is nobody in the county that doesn't want you to succeed, because if every facet of the county board is working well, it's only for the benefit of Gaelic games in the county. So knowing that you have everyone behind you, I'm sure makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, it does in one way. It's lovely to see the support, and you're right. I think everybody in the county wants Clare GAA to do well and do the best that they can do. And in my role, I'm part of that process. I suppose it also gives a little bit of pressure as well, in that people are expecting certain things from the person in this role, and it's my job to fulfil those expectations as well. But I do think I haven't met anybody who hasn't been in support of the job, and knowing that it's a high pressure job. There's a lot on. It's long hours. There's various different aspects of it, from club right up to commercial and stuff like that. So it's going to be a challenging role, but it's something that I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into, yeah.
Okay, long hours. Have you said your goodbyes to your family? Left them a few photos to remember you by?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I suppose, look, in terms of your background and experience, I mean, we were just chatting off air there, you're steeped in GA at club level with Curfin and Curfin Rowan, but in the work side of things, as I said earlier, you're chartered account, you were chartered accountant, IT project manager, perhaps not the traditional GAA pathway. How do you see those skills benefiting the county board, and in particular with your new role as head of operations? Yeah,
so I qualified as a chartered accountant. I've been working in finance, I suppose, for a good few years. I joined State Street Ireland quite a number of years ago. I won't say how long, but
not long by the looks.
I worked in the finance side of that for a few years, and then I moved into IT side of things and got involved in project management. So I think a big aspect of this role is around finance and managing budgets and managing team budgets and the budgets around the county, and making sure we have enough money to do what we need to do in the county. And the other aspect of it is managing projects that we want to get completed from a Clare GAA perspective, and making sure that they run on budget and also run on a correct timeline and get done when they're meant to get done, and all aspects of them are included. So I think from my finance background and my project management background, I have a lot to offer those sides of the role in relation to managing the budgets and managing projects. So yeah, I do think I bring a lot of experience in those areas, which are very important in this role.
And you're taking over from Deirdre Murphy, of course, who's widely respected within the county. What kind of legacy are you inheriting there? And I'm sure she's been fantastic in helping you to step into her shoes.
Yeah, like Deirdre has a massive legacy left behind her. She came in at a time where there needed to be a lot of change in how the county board was run and how it was managed, and to give a lot of transparency and accountability and fairness. And she brought in a lot of new processes and procedures, streamlined a lot of things, kicked off massive big projects like Cahir Lohan's development and other areas like that she is leaving a huge legacy behind her, and we are in a much better position than we were maybe 3 years ago before she came in.
I suppose, some people when they're taking on a particular role, they'll feel like they have to make their mark by reinventing the wheel, even if that's just a completely lofty ambition. Others will want to keep things ticking over. For you, is it about like looking for opportunities to build on what's already in place rather than trying to, because if you try to reinvent the wheel, you can end up upsetting the apple cart, to throw in another cliche?
Yeah, I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. I think everything is running pretty smoothly at the moment. I'm sure, the more that I get stuck into things, there will be areas that maybe I'll see that I can add value to. We can change around processes, streamline things around finance, budgets, governance. But in general, I think everything is running pretty smoothly. I think one of the big opportunities, I suppose, for me is to get these projects completed, like the massive development we want to do in Carlow, and to bring that to the level that we can stand over and say it is a great centre of excellence here in Clare, and that we are proud to show it off to the rest of the country. Finish the start and finish the AstroTurf in Carlow as well, which will give us another place for our teams to train and to be able to use in the off season when we have no lights and no grass pitches and stuff available. So those are the big things I think we want to be able to achieve and definitely start and maybe finish some of them this year. So I think that would be a pretty good start.
What would success look like for you at the end of your first year of head of operations?
I think to continue in the same frame of mind that we've been going in the last number of years, and as you said, not upset the apple cart too much. I think to try and finish some of the projects that we have on our books for this year, to offer another pitch available to our teams by the end of the year, which we're on target to do that. And I suppose I'm only in the job 2 weeks, so I'm sure as the year goes on, come up with other ideas, and commercial growth, I suppose, is another area that we would really, really like to improve and maximise on. We have some great sponsors out there who allow us to do a lot of different things development wise, but we would like to grow that if possible, so that we can offer all our Clare teams the best chance that they have to be a success within the country.
Well, look, you said you were nervous about coming in here, but you've passed the test, so well done, Anne-Marie Moran. Thanks very much for coming in this morning. That's Anne-Marie Moran, Clare GAA's new head of operations, with us on Morning Focus.
Corrifin's Anne-Marie Moran there, who is the new head of operations at Clare GAA, and we wish her the best of luck in that role for the year ahead. Time now for Greyhound Focus and Alan Troy.
Good evening and welcome to this week's Greyhound Focus. Commencing with Galway Greyhound Stadium, Substance recorded her 5th career success for Liscannar's Michael Malone with a 29-33 victory in an A6 graded contest. She is a daughter of Slippery Robert and B Slow Teresa. Flyers Penny continued her good start to her racing career with a 3rd win in 1940 for the 350 yards trip. Owned by Colin Michael Liam and Patricia Fitzgerald from Tullabrack near Kilrush, she is a daughter of Signet Ace and Penny Lane Sheba. Saturday evening at Limerick Greyhound Stadium produced 3 Clare-owned dogs that entered the winners' enclosure. Asium Grange, a son of Grangeview 10 and Burn Park Willow, notched his 2nd career win for Ross Kenny from Innis in 29.53. Bell's Grease recorded her 7th career win for Miss Ciara Malone from Liscannor in 29.26. She is a daughter of Fastfit Paddy and Kenelty Phantom. Miles Cummins and Breda Casey from the Market on Fergus took the honours in an A3 contest with Snuggy Binney in 29.08. This was this son of Ballymac Cashout and Slaney-side Goldies' 12th career success, and he also enjoyed a quick-fire double at Thursday's SIS meeting with Snuggy Archie and I'm Back Baby. Archie, who recorded his 24th career win in 30.13, is a son of Paddy's Magic and Miles Girl, and I'm Back Baby, a daughter of Malachy and Five Valley Vicky, notched her 4th career success in 30.12. And with the Centenary National Coursing Meeting approaching, which takes place the first weekend in February, the excitement is brewing amongst all the connection of the Clare dogs to have the honour of gracing the famed Powerstown Park stretch. Next weekend I will have a report on all the Clare Greyhounds participating, and in the meantime, Sunday evening at Caron's Bar in Innis is an occasion not to be missed by all greyhound enthusiasts, as the 2026 National Meeting Preview Night takes place from 7 p.m. The evening will feature interviews with some of the best known characters from Clare and Galway. That's all for this week, folks. Slán agus beannacht.
Thanks, Alan. And yeah, we will have a more detailed look at the Clare runners for Clonmel, of course, on next week's show. But that's all we have time for this week. Another busy one ahead, so keep it tuned here on Clare FM. The West Wind is next. Enjoy your Friday evening.